Hi there. Thanks for joining me. If you're new here, my name's Catherine, and I have a flip through today of an all sorts book. I like to call them an all sorts book because they have all sorts of stuff in them, and there's really no rhyme or reason for them. There's no theme. It's just fun stuff that I enjoyed putting in this book. But it doesn't mean that it can't become a theme. So if this book interests you, you can certainly turn it into a theme very easily because you're going to see as we do the page turns that there's just oodles of room for you to do your thing in this book. I had a little bit of fun in it, but I left mostly blank pages for the new owner to do their thing. And along with it, before we get started, we'll go some extra pages of the music that was in it. It was a music book from 1903. So I've added in some of the music. This is a little piece of what was the cover. I created a new portion of the cover. I didn't use all of the whale tail tabs that I created, so I'm going to send them along as well. And there's one tiny little piece of the marbled paper left, and I thought some clever person who enjoys collaging might enjoy that piece. So this will go along with experiment number 3. I've been calling it experiment number 3 because it's very similar to 2 other journals that I've made this way that I really think makes for a fun, interesting journal when there's collaging on the cover. And so the first one was an experiment. It didn't work out. The second experiment, experiment number 2, worked out. It worked out so nicely, I kept it myself. Experiment number 3 deserves, sorry, I've got glue still stuck to my fingers. The third one is going to go out into the world somewhere on an adventure. So I guess we should get to the basics of this book. It was a music book. It was Masters in Music, and I forget, I think it was volume 2. We'll find out because I was able to save that part of the spine. The spine was not salvageable. It was absolutely crumbling apart. This book is 121 years old. It was published in 1903. So I don't blame that spine for falling apart. It was quite damaged. There was some water damage to it, and I'm not sure that it was kept in the best of ideal places to keep a book, hence the water damage and so forth. But the paper itself is quite nice. It's quite heavy. You'll see when we get into it. Let's measure it because I forget to. So it's not quite 8 inches wide. It is 11 1/4 inches long. And then it is about 1 1/4, maybe a little bit more inches thick. And I have used oodles of tea-dyed bias tape to hold it closed because I expect the new owner is going to want to have a lot of fun with all the blank pages I've left. And it's probably going to tend to want to alligator mouth on you if you have as much fun with this book as I think you will. It has 248 pages of varying sizes, so you'll see most of the pages are very big, but I do like to tuck in little small pages here and there. It just makes for more fun. So on the cover here, I did my basic collage and then I added fun to it, like this little girl, the train up here, a fussy cut wildflower. This was from some wrapping paper I have of a map of the world. I've put in experiment number 3 into the book plate, but if you don't want to call your book experiment number 3, you can flip it over and title your book whatever you like, or create your own label to put in there. That's just there so that as I work on several books at once, I know which one is in the basket. This is a little European robin, and she's looking over her beautiful nest with her beautiful little eggs in it. And this is actually from a book that's from 1888. And I framed it, and I think that looks pretty. And then on the back, you'll see it's just as much fun. So there's a lot of collaging here. The oldest paper, I believe, if you see really dark paper, like where it says the Frog Prince here, that's from the 1850s. That's a page number. That's not the year. And here's some more of that wrapping paper. There's the darker the paper, it's the older the paper on here. And a little bit of, I think that was a Tim Holtz, I think. And some more wildflowers, and I had some fun with alcohol ink, making some sloppy stains that a book this age would probably end up having. And you'll see these little round circles again when we get inside the book. So, and I covered the new spine that I had to create. I covered it with this really pretty lace, and I think it complements it very well. Although I glued it down with really tough glue, I also hand stitched along right through the board, so that was tricky. That was a first for me, and just stitched down those areas on both sides to make sure that that lace stays where we put it. I'm not sure I'll be able to show you, but it is a hidden hollowback spine. There's a little bit of lace at the top of the text block, and it makes for a nicer, it lays flat nicer when you open it up. So when we open it, you'll see here, this is the original first page. And here's where it says 1903, which I love. And you can tell Masters of Music, Volume 2. I was right. So there are Verdi, Haydn. There's 2 chapters on Beethoven and Handel and Bizet. And this is the original marbled paper. It was in both sides. I was only able to save one side from front and back, so I put the good piece that was left over back in, and then I added a little bit of lace, you'll see, on the back as well. And I figured, you know, who are the masters of music is birds. So if you follow me on my usual videos, we did this together, and Fussy cut out these beautiful swallows and put them on the front cover. So I had just fun for no reason, as I said, for just adding little bits and pieces here and there. Some are tuck spots, some are not. This one's just pretty. It's not a tuck spot. And here is, just as I said, pages of varying sizes. So this is just some architectural photos from out of, I believe, churches in France. So I added some paper to the back for journaling. This paper is from 1978, but it's a reprint from a book that was done in 1873. I got that in Happy Mail. This is actual ledger paper from an accounts book from the 1940s. And this came out of the original book, Masters in Music. I had to reinforce it If I did try to fold the paper, it did want to crack, but the paper itself is quite nice, and you'll be able to have fun either writing on it or collaging on it. And although it says 1902 there, I believe that was the first edition. It was published in 1902, and then they published it again in 1903, which is when this one was made. So a little bit of music from Handel. This is from his famous the Messiah, and then there's I couldn't put Handel in without putting some of the Hallelujah chorus in. Then I had some fun creating some tuck spots from a book I have on. It was called A Victorian Lady's Day Book, and it had just lots and lots of fun advertisements. I liked this one in particular because it says Brown's Iron Bitters, the best tonic, cures malaria, dyspepsia, and female infirmities. And it looks like this lady, before she took her Brown's Iron Bitters, she might have, for some reason, that glass got broken. And I rather liked it because Brown is my maiden name. And then I just put in a little tuck spot of some botanical of butterflies and their caterpillar stage. So lots of pages for you. This is from a learning how to draw book, learning how to draw trees, and it's from 1949. Whenever possible, I write the date of the book that the page came out of. And this is from, you might not be able to see it on the camera, it's bullet journal paper from an old journal. This was made from some leftovers, again, of the original front cover, this whale-tail tab. And I just sewed around the edge for some fun. Lots of space for you. I tried my best to leave the center spreads alone so that you can have fun with them. Some tea-dyed paper. Another side of the French cathedrals. I liked this. Not sure why it was there, but I left it there. It was a little, I believe the publisher made a correction, so they just added that into the book. So I left it there. This was the chapter on Handel, and it gives his birth and date of birth and date of death. And there he is. Sometimes there were pictures, so where I could, I included them. A little bit of lace sticking out the edge there. This came from a 1948 seed catalog. This was from an old accounts book. I think this was the yellow copy that the merchant keeps, and I tea-dyed it. This is from a book on how to learn the organ. And I know what date that's from. I'll find out and I'll write it down before it goes off to its new home. It was going to drive me crazy. It's from 1914. There we go. Now we know. This is from 1941. It's a book on how to build chimneys. Again, had fun with the book, the Victorian Ladies' Day book. It was just full of really beautiful little advertisements. So I did some fun sewing and a little tab of some fabric. And then this is out of a page from a book from 1897 on the effects of wearing tight shoes, how to cure ingrowing nails, and some pointers about footwear. So there you go. And the soprano recitative and aria from Aida. So there you go. Tea-dyed paper from my favorite gardening diary. I love that. Anytime you see music like this, it's from the original book, and you can just know it's from 1903. Same with when you see the music tabs. So all these, oh, there, I wrote it there, 1914. Oh my goodness. A little bit of lace up here, sticking out the top with some sewing, and then I just sewed her on. She's not a tuck spot. She's just there because she's pretty. This was actually originally in the front of the book when it was all together. And Charlotte, it looks like Charlotte Foster gave it to Janet Beacom in 1956. And there was a little bit of a tear here on the side, so I just made a tab from the Victorian Ladies book and put it over where there was the little tear. And here is, I believe this is from a bag that I received with some Tim Hortons cards in it, and a tea-dyed index card. And then in my family, whenever anyone goes on a vacation, it's very common, instead of saying have a good time, we always like to say bring me back something French, no matter where you're going. And one time Nancy was going away on vacation, and I said, bring me back something French. And sure enough, if she didn't find something French. And she found a deck of cards, French, on different saints. So this is from the deck of cards. When I gave Nancy a task, the woman comes through, and she's from Wishes and Weeds. Her channel is very, very good. So we've moved on to Haydn here. There's the man himself. A little bit of Edith Holden. Junk journal, gotta have a bit of Edith. And a book on how to do calligraphy. I tea-dyed it and left the holes in the side. This is from a 1940s school reader. Little tuck spot with a little Edith there, and there's just a little tab with a little AA. Somebody with the name AA, I guess that was tags for their clothing. If they were going off somewhere. And another piece of, this is from one of those vintage notepads that we used to be able to get all the time, like from Zellers, or if you're Canadian, from Towers. I don't know if Towers existed down in the United States. And I've just put a little tab up here of measuring tape. This is a 1901 mushroom book, but after I sewed the book together, I noticed that one of the mushrooms looked quite rude. It looked very much like a part of the male anatomy. Let's just put it that way. So what I did here, and this actually shows you what you can do if you have a page such as this that you would like to be a journaling page. You can do it very easily and just glue in some plain paper on top, and then you've got plenty. You now have a whole page that you can write and journal on. So this side, the mushrooms were quite presentable. I left them as is. So again, 1901. Here is part of the spine I was able to save, and that's where we can see it says volume 2, and it also says 1903, which I really like. And that's a little bit of the bottom of the page that the birds were on from the front of the book. There was birds on a wire down below. If you watch my videos, go back and you'll see where we did that. And then, of course, it's one of my journals, so I always put a Two Nanas bookmark in there. I'll have to sign it. I usually sign it, so I won't do that right now because my pen needs time to dry, the one that I like to write with. So, and that's sewn on there, so a little tuck spot, but you can still open it because it's a tip out as well. Same with this side is a tip out. And again, my favorite gardening book. I love when I can use these pages full size. It's a big book. So when I do a big book like this, I don't have to trim it, which makes me very happy. Again, the mushroom, the famous mushroom page. Only Nancy got to see it. I said, should I leave it as it is, or should I hide these rather rude-looking mushrooms? And she said, you got to cover those up. So in this case, it is underneath. You would be able to, the new owner could take a peek underneath if you so choose. Here is the rest of the spine that I was able to save. So what I did was I flipped it over, I made a pocket, and I glued on what was left of the crumbling original spine. And I actually think it was meant to be, because I think that looks really cool. And then I just put in a little journaling card in there for now. You can move that around wherever you like. This is another page out of that book from 1897 on how to word an invitation. And I made a pocket out of what was left of the bottom of that page where the two beautiful birds that are on the front of the book. I made the best use I could of all of that paper. So much room for journaling. A little more on Haydn. Died in 1809. Another of the fun advertisements out of the Victorian Ladies' Day book. And then this is genuine. This came with a happy gift of cool stuff that wonderful people share with me. Beethoven. There was 2 sections on Beethoven. I think one was solo pieces for piano and one was orchestral pieces. He got 2 chapters in the book, and there's the man himself. This was out of a book on roses. I believe it was from the 1950s. This is out of hold on, there's a little piece of masking tape there. Good, we got it. From a book called The Workbasket that was very popular for women of my mom's generation. And the date is on the other side, so when we get to it, I'll show you. I made a little tuck spot here with this whale tail tab from Some of the Music, and I just put a vintage card underneath there. Typing book, I believe from the 1960s. Again, had some fun from the Victorian Ladies' Day book. I sewed around the edge and added a bit of ratty looking lace and some fun messy sewing, some Shinuki sewing, and made an up tuck. And this was half of a piece of paper that was originally in the book. So it's from the text block. And then again, this, it wasn't Frankenstein together, but I actually folded it incorrectly initially, and I didn't want to waste it. But I didn't like the look of the fold across the middle, so I sewed across it, and now I think it looks cool. As ever with my books, if you're new here, these are all knotted, so if you don't like the long threads, trim them off quite close and they won't unravel. As is typical with my books, and I don't apologize for it, it's just quirky. There is an antique toilet here. Let's put some, I'll put something smaller in there later, but it's a tuck spot. And then the toilet roll is always out of reach, so I put the toilet rolls up here. And that's on Bizet's Music. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I only made it to grade 3 conservatory piano, so I didn't make it to Bizet or Bizet. And this is Beethoven's opus, the Fifth Symphony, first movement. And I'm not very good at sight reading, but I believe this is the part where it says dun 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 dun. So I think that I'm reading that right. Those of you who read music can tell me for sure if I've got it correctly. It's a huge piece of music, I know that. So, and that happens in many places. But I think I got it right. There's Verdi. He looks rather dapper. More little odds and ends pieces here and there for you to have fun with. This, I believe, is still from... I'm not sure which book this one's from, but I wrote 1904 on it. Because it's an all sorts book, I was trying to make use of pages that got pulled out of previous journals that I've made, that I made them way too fat, and I had to sacrifice some pages out of it, and this is one of the sacrificial pages, but it made it into experiment number 3. Again, a little tuck spot here with these are Tim Holtz cards, and a little bit of, this is the fabric. There was some leftover fabric from what I used to create the text block. So it went back into the book. And again, big, huge center spread there for you. And then there's some vintage playing cards here, and I had to put the music ones in. So they're in there. But this is movable. Now I think I've got something under there. This comes off. You can put it up top. You can put it coming out the side. And it will hold papers. So they're kind of fun. And then on this side, I just tucked that in. This again was also originally in the text block, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I cut them down in size and put them back in for journaling on. Oh, this is from McClure's magazine. Okay, that's where it came from. And that, who else? That, I believe, came from Nancy. She spoils me. Verdi's page got a little tuck spot. This is from some Tim Holtz, but it's also just holds things. So I stamped on here, but you can journal in there. It's tea-dyed and it's inked around the edges, and I just added a little extra doily there in case you want to put that somewhere else. This final whale tail tab is also made from the original fabric that was on the cover initially that looked so sad. And then on this side, I have a huge book on the gardens of Eisenstadt, I believe it's called. Yeah, the Garden of Eisenstadt. So I fussy cut that out, and from 2/3 of it is a tuck spot. And this is just a little invoice for someone named Gary Russell. I think it wasn't an invoice. I think this was his pay stub. And I think in 1949 he earned $10.44. And the back, again, I made use of the beautiful marbled paper that was originally in the book. Added a bit of lace along here. There you can see some of that fabric that we saw earlier. And my my usual little my little identification tab with my signature for in my books is CABC, my initials. And that we have experiment number 3. So this will be in my Etsy shop, which the link is down below. a little later today, I will write the approximate time, because Etsy can be funny. It can be a few minutes off here and there when it loads up pages. And so I always say approximately around what time the book will be available in my Etsy shop. If you're interested, I hope you'll go over and take a look and see if maybe experiment number 3 is a journal that that you could have some fun with. So thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this flip through today, and we'll get together soon and we'll get to work on the next journal. Take care. Bye.